Thank you so much, Janos. What a pity again not to be with you, but I'm very pleased to join you in this very important occasion. And yes, I share also with Joel this congratulations for the valedictorian. A graduation, I think, is not the closing of an initiative. I think it's just the bringing together the very important contributions it had made to this topic that we are looking at. For many years, and it was said before, C2G has brought together government's attention to the urgent need to address the governance of emerging climate-altering technologies, including carbon dioxide removal and solar radiation modification. But I think that these are the ones at hand, but the more we move forward, this very same framework or this very same way of analyzing the issues from the ethical and governance lenses will apply to many other emerging technologies as we see them. C2G has been a strong catalyzer for bringing together many voices around the table to discuss these issues and for keeping them high on the agenda of many policy circles. And the legacies, of course, of this important reflection are more relevant in today's days when we are really confronting day by day, the worst impacts of climate change and the climate emergency. And therefore, the question of climate altering technologies is putting in the table, and you have been there, therefore we have a framework to think about them. Institutions like the European Commission, UNEP, and the US White House has published reports highlighting the needs for global and transparent discussions in climate engineering governance, pretty much in line with the C2G. And congratulations, of course, to the Carnegies for having supported this initiative. And at UNESCO, as you know, we have been looking at these issues now for quite some time. Our ethics advisory body, the World Commission on the Ethics of Science, on the ethics of scientific knowledge and technology, will very soon be adopting its report on the ethics of climate engineering. And usually we deal with it in the format of good governance, and highlighting the importance of putting ethics at the forefront of this debate. And what is the context? The context, you know it. The increase in policy attention and decision making is more important than ever. The global stocktake report of the UNFCCC is clear. The world is no longer on track to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. I am in Paris, and I can tell you we were so excited when Minister Fabius just closed the debate and agreed the Paris Agreement, but it's going to be 10 years, and we are nowhere near to the agreements that were put at the table. And the report says that the window to ensure a lively and sustainable future is rapidly closing. Every season reminds us of the urgency we're facing. This summer, again, was the hottest ever recorded. But I have to say that in my lifetime, we have heard every year that is the hottest and the hottest. So we don't know where we're going to get with this trend. 0.66 centigrades above the average for the period of 1991 to 2020. And it's not stopping. Fires and floods, heat waves and drought, we experience one climate crisis after one another. And some future crises have now become, unfortunately, unavoidable. We were reviewing the literature on these things, and a study released by Nature just last week found that regardless how aggressively we tackle the issue of reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, water around some of the West Antarctica glaciers are forecast to warm at a pace 3 times faster than they have in the past. And we hear these numbers, we hear these trends, we hear this dramatic picture that these reports are taken, and then we wonder how come there's no more decisive action. And it's not only about the impact or the warming, but also the impact on people. And the climate impacts are not created equal or distributed equally. Secretary General Guterres has been saying it for quite some time. As is always the case, the poor and vulnerable are the first to suffer and the worst to hit. We know by some other research that 20% increase, there will be a 20% increase of malnourished children compared to what would be seen without climate change. And some small islands, we know, confront their very existential risks. This impact goes harder in vulnerable communities. And this is so unfair because it's also those vulnerable communities or those low-income communities that are the less to be blamed for the climate trends. They very little responsibility for the cumulative greenhouse gas emissions driving climate change. The Stockholm Environment Institute and Oxfam found that 5% of the world's population was responsible for 36% of the greenhouse gases. 5%, 36% production. The poorest half of the world population is responsible for less than 6%. And therefore, I have to say that this is all wrong from all the perspective, from the climate, from the social, from the intergenerational, from the perspectives of the world we want to live in. And therefore, of course, the question of discussing the options and to put all of those in the table are very important. And that's why at UNESCO, like the C2G and the Carnegie, we stress upfront that any reflection on climate action is an ethical one. In contemplated climate action, we inherently weigh conflicted interest between regions and countries grappling with the implications of global warming. Risk analysis is central to our decision in this domain. And this is particularly the case when it comes to climate engineering, as the research, development, and possible deployment of these technologies could become life-changing issues for the present and future generations, but in a positive and in a negative way. All this is not about the technologies, and we have, for example, the recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, and it's really clear that it's not about the technologies. It's about the societal impact. It's about the governing. It's about the distributional impacts. It's about the precautionary principle. It's about many, many issues related to the world we want to build, where the technologies play a role, but it's not about them. So determining when an action is ethically justified in the face of climate challenges is not a simple task. It requires engaging in worldwide discussions to research and potentially shape technologies that prioritize inclusive, safe, and sustainable outcomes in the service of humanities. And again, C2G, I think it's a package, a very good experience, because you broaden the debate and you brought many, many different voices. Because again, this is not only for the connoisseur, those that knows what does it mean, it's for everybody, because everybody is implicated. We need to have a thorough assessment of the ethical, social, and cultural implications of these technologies. And this is essential to ensure inclusive decision-making in this field. And of course, we can never control everything. It's not that we will not move until we have every single aspect understood and controlled. But at the end, in the face of uncertainties, and the world is very uncertain, we need to be able to have some methodologies to look at the issues and at least look at the main elements there. At the present, there are two key challenges towards effective climate engineering governance that I would like to bring to your attention. The first one is the lack of research on the potential environmental and human impacts of many climate engineering technologies. This makes it difficult to make informed and ethical decisions about the development and potential deployment of such technologies due to the high amount of uncertainty regarding their impacts. So we need more research and we need more science. And of course, this almost looks as a self-serving comment, being the institution in the UN system that has science in the name. But the point is that given the context of climate emergency in which these technologies are being developed, some might worry that increasing research on such technologies might cause it to become a techno-fix solution that could undermine support for existing climate policies and divert funding from emission reductions and adaptation efforts. And Janos, you and I have been talking about this question of moral hazard. and not to be distracted from the mitigation actions that need to be taken, and also the adaptation plans, by thinking that we might be able technologically to overcome all these issues and probably substitute them, which is not the case. If we are not in track to meet the goals of the Paris agreements, of course, we understand the importance of delivering on the commitments, and we need to avoid any distraction that can be used as an excuse not to ensure more determined action. And as I mentioned, with the state of the world today, there is no other way than pursue the commitments as we define them. But it's true also that with the very clear path in which we are, we cannot discount any possibility. We need to look at all of them and turn every stone to find if we have any solution to deliver on this urgent issue. We need all technologies and all hands on deck and all of the efforts, but within a well-framed debate and, as I said, governance framework. The second concern that I believe must be urgently addressed is the fact that climate engineering research continues to be dominated by industrialized countries. And not only research, I think even the possibility of deploying these technologies like the solar radiation modification is in the hands of the very few. And this has led to concerns that at present, only the global north is setting the agenda. And I'm not sure if this takes due consideration from the voices or the concerns of the global south, which will be affected whether we use them or not. And this lack of diversity often has dramatic consequences, as it can hinder legitimacy and societal trust and deepen the polarization between the world's wealthier countries and the poorer, contributing to rendering people on the front line of climate change even more vulnerable. And I have given this example on our past discussions. The problem is that if you don't have an inclusive framework to discuss the issues and to make for the asymmetry of knowledge, then you have this rejection and lack of trust in science. The recent unauthorized release of 2 balloons in Mexico by the American startup Make Sunsets led Mexico to ban the experimentation of such technologies in its soil, saying that the launch violated its national sovereignty. And I have to just put a nice thought to my beautiful country because of this horrible hurricane Otis, and send all our support to the people of Acapulco. I'm glad to see that this is thanks to initiatives like C2G that we have begun to bring out into the open these important ethical questions about climate engineering. You put it in the agenda, but you put it not only as a fantastic possibility, but as a very important issue to be discussed in an inclusive manner. The important homework that you are leaving, of course, is to ask, how can we translate this debate into action? How do we link these important conclusions and reflections with the very difficult debate on delivering on the Paris Agreement, where we cannot even in some big events even mention fossil fuels reduction? How do we use what we will discuss here today in a way that is useful for the international community? And there, I feel that it's not that we are going to lose Janus. I think that the experience and the teams will continue to contribute to this very important debate. But I would also like to say that UNESCO will be working on these issues after the report is released. With this mandate that we have to promote the ethical advancements of science and technology and to enable innovation, we can continue to advance the debate. This mandate, as you know, had been formed the question of the human genome 15 years ago. More recently, in 2021, the ethics of artificial intelligence. And we hope that at the global conference to start in 2 weeks, we will also have a mandate to look at the ethics of neurotechnology. The report will be delivered, but we are also being called to organize the roundtables to bring the global south. And we will be happy to work with the experts that C2G has engaged, because the knowledge and the experience is always welcome. we will be framing these debates around the ethics of climate engineering through roundtables. This is what the experts are asking us to do, but also by bringing the voices of the global south. And we hope that we can build a stronger collaborations, not only in terms of north-south debates, but also to engage the civil society, to engage those groups that are usually not sitting around the table, and that, of course, we need to make sure that they have also something to say. In 2017, 195 governments adopted the UNESCO Declaration on the Ethical Principles in relation to climate change. They call for global partners to mobilize around such principles to guide decision-making and policy development to address climate change at all levels. And as I said, the ethical reflection was about distributional impacts, about fairness, about precautionary principle, about who takes the decisions, how do we build an inclusive governance, which is exactly what the C2G has been advancing for many years. And we need to ensure that these principles are applied to achieve meaningful climate action. And at UNESCO, we are committed to continue this debate. The convergence of technology also brings immense potential to address the pressing issues of climate change. But the climate emergency must not make us forget that this is above all a societal debate and not a technological one. So the closing down, but I will not say the closing down, the delivery of the outcomes of the Carnegie Climate Governance Initiative is a milestone to be celebrated. And I'm honored that UNESCO had been able to be part of this conversation with C2G for the past couple of years. This initiative, as I said, is closing in this format, but it doesn't mean that the conversation ends here. We will continue working with you, advancing this ethical debate on climate engineering, mobilizing member states and networks to strengthen the debate, and also by placing ethics ex ante to ensure that the technology remains for the benefit of all. So congratulations, and looking forward to the discussions, because the climate emergency is here, and we need all the technologies to, all the actions, all the technologies to counter it, and we will be very pleased to continue working with you.